Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 4, 2022. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. And it truly is a special time, a time when a lot of us are feeling a lot of mental energy, a lot of rhetoric, a lot of words are going around. And a lot of that is not only because we have Mars retrograde in the sign of Gemini, but also this week we are going to have perhaps the most important moment of the larger Mars retrograde season, and that is a full moon that is exactly conjunct Mars with precision, happening right there in the sky next to Mars. This is quite phenomenal. As much as a full moon in Gemini is going to emphasize ideas and talk and media, all forms of media, traditional media, social media, independent media, it is that Mars retrograde that is ultimately an invitation. I would say any celestial event is a type of invitation. It's an invitation to understand the symbol of what spiritual lessons might be playing out for you. And I say this because, up until very recently in human history, only about 250 years ago, was when astrology left Western universities and when astrology began to separate from religion and religious institutions. And in some places in the world, astrology is still deeply connected to religious institutions. I think about, for example, Vedic astrology, which is also Eastern astrology, Indian astrology. It's based on the Vedas, and the Vedas are sacred texts that arise from that region, from India, and connected to the Hindu faith. Now, I did speak about the difference between Western and Eastern astrology a couple of times in a couple of videos, and I'll try to find those links and link them below. You can certainly find them on my channel as to how that change happened, how various times in history Indian astrology influences Western, but Western astrology has its own sort of path of evolution. And a big part of it is that it was about 250 years ago that in the Western mind and in the West, we had this separation take place. Up until then, to see an astrologer was to see a priest. And it was religious institutions that supported and developed so much of the astrological wisdom that we have today. And when we look at where we are today in terms of Western astrology, so much of it is shaped by, guided by people who are spiritual. I think about this incredible move, this incredible school called evolutionary astrology that has influenced so much of Western astrology today, that looks at the soul's growth and emphasizes the choice that the soul will make. And so we have a choice, right? Regardless of who we are, where we are in the world, we can look to the sky and decide what it is that we are going to glean from it, what it is we're going to learn from it. But it is also a choice to stay unconscious. The thing is, though, that staying unconscious, it only gets you so far. It only works so far. At some point, it starts to create pain. And when it creates pain, it starts to spiral. And when it starts to spiral, what happens is that the hurt of that, the weight of that, the pain of that, at some point is going to become too much. And a person then is led to, inspired to, and I would say constantly prompted to, by a loving universe, to cultivate a deeper sense of awareness, of consciousness, and of ownership as well. Now, ownership is a massive factor here because ultimately what ownership says is that you're going to own the fact that you're on a spiritual path, and whatever it is that shows up, you're going to try to explore it from a perspective of perhaps this could be something that is part of your path towards greater love and greater wisdom. It doesn't mean that you accept things necessarily that are unjust or fair, and it doesn't mean that you're responsible for things that are inherently cruel. It does mean that you yourself decide that you are going to cultivate a willingness to be loving to yourself and to others as well. And just that willingness, the cultivation of that, or the willingness to cultivate that, can be a very powerful thing. It can put us on that path towards greater consciousness, where we're willing to observe the love in all things. So we've had this very strong Gemini energy, and this Gemini energy with Mars retrograde has in some ways been designed to show us something about how we think about things, how we articulate things, what we express, and the intention behind why we do it. When Mars retrograde in Gemini is used consciously, we become conscious of our language, of our words. We become conscious of how our own words can end up being very revealing. Think about what Freud called the Freudian slip. I don't know if Freud himself called it that, but I know the Freudian slip, very popular term. And what it basically means is that if you listen to somebody, maybe they don't intend to, they don't realize what it is that they said, or maybe sometimes you've said something and you didn't realize what you said in the moment, but when you stop and really look at it, you realize how revealing it actually was in terms of what is happening within your own psyche, where we can observe, we can look back at conversations we might have had and realize how much of our own fear was shining through, how much of our own insecurities were being projected onto our own vocabulary and our own way of communicating and what we were talking about specifically as well. It can end up being incredibly revealing. And it isn't always what the person directly says. By far, most often, it's what people don't say that ends up being the most revealing. And I think that this is part of what we have seen so far with this Mars retrograde season. With Mars basically square Neptune throughout October and November, there was that much more confusion and delusion around being able to honestly evaluate what we were thinking, what we were saying, why we were saying it. And now that we just recently had Saturn speaking in supreme harmony with that retrograde Mars, we're being invited now to find some truth and stability within what otherwise has been rhetoric or illusion or delusion at that. But now imagine that this energy that's saying, own your power, own your happiness. Mars retrograde is always an opportunity to experience the serenity affirmation, also called the serenity prayer. And so the serenity affirmation says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That's the first point of power. The courage to change the things I can. That's the second point of power. And the wisdom to know the difference. That is the third point of power. These are three forms of empowerment that are being requested of to and petitioned to the universe, if you will. These are 3 points of power that a person is desiring to cultivate within themselves when it is that they say or repeat the serenity affirmation. A lot of people are right now being invited to observe and to cultivate these 3 points of authentic power. And I think that all of us in at least one area of life are having to practice and live and experience the serenity affirmation. If we are fortunate enough, if life has led us to have enough pain so that we say, okay, that's not the path for me, I'm going to turn this around in some way or another, I'm going to cultivate wisdom in some way or another, then we're conscious of how we're being asked to cultivate these 3 points of power. Where it is that we don't do that work or we cannot do that work, life is going to constantly invite us. It's going to constantly give us the push or the impetus or the pull towards it. And that's also part of Mars as well. The push and the pull is inherent in this very physical energy and the very physical metaphor of the push and pull as well. This full moon is right there with Mars. It is going to bring emotion and tears, and I would even say urgency, an emotional urgency where we are likely going to feel and likely going to see figures who are culminating in an awareness, an understanding where we get to see how it is that people are going to either take up the affirmation or try to run from it. We look at this full moon conjunct Mars, calling us to live the serenity affirmation. You can't control what other people are going to do. We have no power over whether someone is going to love us or not, whether someone is going to leave us or not. We have no power over that. We do have power over how much we're going to cultivate consciousness, but very often the environment has to encourage that as well. And if we set up a certain stage, then how does that really happen? And then you add the fact that while all of this has been happening, those Neptune squares, even though now that they're waning, we're also seeing what is so illusionary. Just because your pain is a reason that you are creating pain doesn't give you an excuse to create pain. Full stop. That's it. Yes, we've got this full moon. We are going to be invited to look at the limits of our power and to own our own power as well. Remember, Mars is also about self-knowledge. And people who walk around creating pain are not operating from a place of self-knowledge at all. Self-knowledge will lead you to love and wisdom. It is only through love and wisdom that we amplify and move more and more towards love and wisdom, and that is where we cultivate meaningful self-knowledge. It works like a circle. They feed each other ultimately. The more you know yourself, the more you realize that so much of the things that separate us from each other are illusionary as well. And that also fits into this illusion quality that a lot of us are having to look at. You think about how, yes, when Neptune square to Mars was especially strong, and some of that energy is going to be with this full moon as well, and that was especially strong. A lot of us were getting very caught up and wound up in illusions. Then that Saturn trine started to kick in. Now we're being invited to find that right balance, to find our grounding, and to also Saturn. Now, just like with Mars, the higher lesson of Mars is always understanding and living the serenity affirmation. The higher lesson of Saturn is always to take ownership for our happiness. Full stop. What is it that we need to be on the path towards manifesting in order to affirm happiness? Taking ownership for your happiness isn't easy. Sometimes it can take a very long time to get there, especially when there have been things in life that have taken you off the path of happiness and peace and all of that. Now, Mars very often is the impetus to act. It's the new, it's the next, it's the jump. However, Mars is retrograde, and so it's, again, going within, reflecting within. And it's conjunct a full moon, and full moons bring things to light. They bring things to culmination and conclusion as well, which inherently does suggest closures as well. Closures are necessary to create space for the new, but they're also a part of life. And where it is that we look to the sky to understand what more it is that we have yet to do in this lifetime, the more it is we can embrace the, however, karmic closures that may be transpiring as part of moving towards living that more fully in this life today. And that's part of the invitation here as well. Mars is the experience of life. It is the energy of life itself. It's the survival instinct. It's the attraction instinct. It's what we might cultivate within ourselves to be more attractive to other people and what we find attractive in others. It's the emotional states we got used to being in before we could speak, that on some instinctual, very deep level of our psyche, we associate with love. It is only because it is familiar that we associate it with love. And so we have this full moon so amplified now with this energy of closure, and it's retrograde, and it's an opportunity to really understand the self that much more deeply. Why you've been thinking the way you have, why you've been speaking the way that you have. Why is it that, and where is it that we've been on automatic? All of that is going to come to light and come right to the surface. And it's an opportunity to ultimately find authentic empowerment. The fact that the full moon is speaking in harmony, in supreme harmony, trine Saturn, means that the greater ease and blessings come when we take ownership for our happiness and we honor the incarnation that we are in right now. We allow new chapters and allow additional lifetimes within this lifetime. That is how, as part of Saturn, in addition to taking ownership for your happiness, is about self-respect. The self-respect that comes by doing that is quite phenomenal. I remember once, many, many years ago, expressing some frustration to my mom. I was trying to make some gains where it came to my work, where it came to this work and business, really, that was so new, this entrepreneurial endeavor that was so new at the time. And I was telling my mom about how frustrated I was and things. And she said to me, if you want more, you have to do more, right? Now, I say this, I need to add, she's a triple Virgo. So of course she's going to think that, right? She's also a triple Scorpio as well. So she's got triple Virgo, triple Scorpio in her chart. And then she has this Jupiter in Sagittarius conjunct the galactic center right on my moon. So I think that really describes her very well there. If you want more, you have to produce more, is what she said. And of course, those words were what I needed to hear at the time. They spoke to the 2 planets in Capricorn that I have. But it got me thinking about how each sign has its ticket to getting more. And it really is about working with whom it is that you are. I'm reminded of a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek. And this book was and is quite a phenomenon within digital nomad circles. So now we call them remote workers, but there was a period of time years ago where I was really passionate about this whole digital nomad movement. Again, this was so many years ago. And I just was, such a reader of all the books and all the sites and the networking and all of that. It was quite fascinating and quite interesting in terms of how people can be very enthusiastic and very passionate about their own entrepreneurial endeavors. So it really served me well at the time. And so this book, very popular, very famous in digital nomad or remote worker circles. And there are so many key things in this book. Everybody takes away what it is that resonates with them. And there were many ideas in this book that resonated with me, but one of the ideas that I thought was so fascinating was the author talks about how it's almost a waste of time to try to make yourself better at something that you're just okay at, and that you can really try and really strive, and you end up doing a lot of things that maybe you're not nearly as good at as you are at the things that are your strength. Now, that doesn't mean that your strengths aren't things that you work hard at. Absolutely not. Or that your strengths don't challenge you, or they aren't something that needs growth, right? A lot of times strengths are our promise. However, it's very valuable to consider what our strengths might be and to give as much of our energy and time to those strengths, and where possible, get help on and get people on board who are strong in the things that we are not strong at. This idea was so illuminating to me, incredibly illuminating to me. And so that has been part of the guiding force, of course, behind anybody who ends up cultivating a team. I have a wonderful team that works with me. And so they're able to be there and step in ways in which that then allow me to focus on the things that I feel are strengths for me. And so when I hear this, like what Tim Ferriss says, to me, that is about, and how do you identify those strengths? A lot of it is going to depend by sign, or particularly by element. And so if you are an earth sign, like my mom, right? Virgo, Sun, conjunct Mercury and Venus. And so what you have there is, with earth signs, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, if you want more, you have to produce more. Yes, you have to manifest in your own way. If you're a fire sign, an Aries, a Leo, a Sag, if you want more, look, belief can go a long way, but it's also about trusting your own spark more, trusting that creative force within you more, trusting your passions more, acting on your passions. If you're a fire sign, acting on your passions is your pathway to get you more. If you are a water sign, a Cancer, a Scorpio, or a Pisces, it's about going with the flow more. It's about allowing more. And there's a very strong creativity to water as well. And so allowing yourself to feel, yes, but then also allowing that process of creativity to unfold is a very powerful way to manifest what you like. And if you are an air sign, well, air is all about ideas. It's about brainstorming. It's about plans. And so it isn't that you have to think more necessarily, but you have to honor the fact that there's an intellectual side of you, and you have to engage the intellect more, engage ideas more, learn more, cultivate more ideas, and come up with your own unique ideas as well, as part of helping you to align with whatever it is that you want more of. And working with your strengths is a very powerful way to get more. Now, I share all this because as we begin the week, yes, we got a lot of planets in Sag, right? A very creative energy of belief. And I think that's part of why we've been seeing a lot of this, rhetoric happening as of late. However, that starts to change this week. 2 planets move into Capricorn. If you want more, you have to produce more. That's part of working with the cycles of the universe. And on the way there, I think a lot of us are going to realize that just having the idea isn't enough. Simply having the belief and being passionate, it's a great thing. It's a high of its own. However, like all things in the universe, balance is required and balance is needed. We are incarnated for a reason, and all the elements are a part of each and every one of us. All of the universe is not only a part of us, but we ourselves are the universe itself. We can say we are a universe amongst our own self as part of a multiverse, which is now what scientists believe we are in the middle of. Or we can think that we are within an ocean. Either way, the universe has 4 elements, a fifth if you consider ether, the mystery, the energy behind it all. That's water, fire, air, and earth. And so, this week, in very powerful ways, we start to move from fire and towards earth. And a part of what's going to help us to do that is some very strong water energy in the name of Jupiter in Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. Jupiter is the ancient ruling planet of Pisces. It is amplified in its power now. And it is going to be Jupiter that is going to speak in tension with Mercury on Tuesday and with Venus on Friday, just before both of these planets change signs and move into the sign of Capricorn. Now, consider that Tuesday and Friday, Mercury and Venus are in the sign of Sagittarius. And yes, we have the sun in the sign of Sagittarius this week as well. Fire energy, right? Speaking with this hyper water energy of Jupiter in Pisces, what happens when fire meets water, right? They put each other out. The water evaporates, the fire dies down. So they put each other out. And so it's an opportunity for us ultimately to be honest about where it is that we have gotten caught up in the waves, but also just allowed the fire and the high and the spark of fire to take us way off course. Fire really can spread if you let it. And so we get this opportunity now to look at where it is that our own passions have led us and where it is now that maybe a need for greater sensitivity needs to come into the picture. And where it is that we can be sensitive towards ourselves, well, that becomes very powerful. It becomes an incredible moment of not just reflection, but of strength that then allows us to move towards producing more, to doing more, and to being more of what's going to allow us to continue to cultivate healthy self-respect in the process. Self-love is a feeling. Self-acceptance is a practice. Self-respect is earned by doing. And that is the journey that I think a lot of us are going to be on. We're going to be going through that journey of understanding that we're moving towards self-respect. And Mercury and Venus moving into Capricorn are going to help us to get there in very powerful ways. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Well, look, we've got some very charged up energy here. That Mars retrograde is going to be exactly hand in hand with a full moon. It is going to be exactly across the sky from the sun. And this is where there is so much emotion and energy behind whatever this Mars retrograde season has been meant to be for you. There's no hiding from the lesson. That lesson shows up again and again, but in times like this, the need to understand the lesson is accelerated in a very big way, in a massive way at that. And it really is up to us to empower ourselves by taking the 3 points of power of the serenity affirmation. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We have so little power over so much in our lives, but it truly can be very empowering to own our power, to acknowledge our pain. That just might be the most courageous thing of all. And that may be exactly what it is that is needed so that we start to put ourselves on that path towards earning or re-earning a healthy sense of self-respect for us on our own unique journey. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, Here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm truly so grateful for it. Now, you can get a video just like this every single week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded, exclusive video scopes and so much more. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University presents some truly incredible programs that are coming up in the new year. And for a very limited time, less than 4 weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class with Synchronicity University's world famous choose your tuition rate that I'm so proud of, making truly quality and incredible astrology learning accessible to more people than ever before. And I'm so proud to be a part of that. Well, let's start with the one and only Cameron Allen. Cameron Allen is back. One of our popular teachers is back at Synchronicity University teaching a course on medical astrology. This is a 5-part course. Now, Cameron is an incredible teacher. He's a herbalist, and he's so passionate about helping people to understand how we physically are connected to the cosmos and to the sky, and how we can work with that energy to experience a heightened sense of well-being. And he really does embody it. I've had a chance to meet him twice already in person and of course online many times. And he does have this deep knowledge and wisdom that he has cultivated through active learning. But of course, he brings so much heart and this older soul level wisdom to his practice as well. He really does know his stuff. I'll tell you, he's told me I can contact him anytime when something comes up. I've had a couple of times when something's come up in terms of something hurting, something out of whack, and I've been able to ask him about it. I know I'm very, very privileged to be able to do that, to just be able to contact a huge astrologer like Cameron Allen and be like, hey, my shoulder is hurting. What can I do? And his insights, his advice, his suggestions, always right on. They always end up solving the issue very quickly. So I'm so grateful personally, but also I know a lot of the students who've taken his classes feel the same way. They've learned so much about that connection between sky and body and herbalism and emotion and so much more. So you're going to learn so much in this course for a very limited time. Choose your tuition rate to learn from the one and only Cameron Allen, superstar astrologer. And really, you've got less than 4 weeks left to choose your tuition rate. The class starts in January. And there are less than 4 weeks left to choose your tuition rate at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents one of our most popular teachers back. And this is the one and only Marc Laurenson, superstar astrologer from Australia. He is so widely known and respected there. And now he's really starting to expand his reach within the rest of the world. And it's very exciting to be a part of it on the one hand, but also, I mean, students just love his courses. He is one of our most popular teachers. His classes are always very lively, very full. Lots of students do sign up. And I mean, literally in the hundreds is how many students sign up for his class with great enthusiasm at that. And so Marc Laurenson, expert teacher, is back at Synchronicity University teaching on the lunar nodes in astrology, a massively popular topic to help to understand the soul's journey in this life. And he does have this very powerful soul-centered approach. Recently, I interviewed Marc, and that interview is up on my YouTube channel where I talk about the South Node through the signs with him, and it's his interpretation that he shares. And so many people have been giving feedback about how powerful and insightful that interview was. So I hope that you'll check that out. I'll be sure to link that below. But yes, 5-part course, and for less than 4 weeks left, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. Really an unheard of rate to learn from the likes of Mark Laurenson. It is only at Synchronicity University that Mark Laurenson teaches and makes his classes available at that low rate of just $5 a class. So learn more and sign up now for Mark Laurenson, the lunar nodes in astrology, at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University presents an incredible January speaker series. Wow, we've got some really big names, some really big up-and-comers. This is a very special group. And for a very limited time, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. You've got less than 4 weeks left to do that, to choose your tuition rate. And so this is the time to act and make sure that you access this class. It is very special, this series of classes, I should say. And so one of our really big dog astrologers for this session, you may notice that any session, I try to give like 1 or 2 big dog astrologers, and I might have 1 or 2 astrologers that are maybe not legendary status just yet, but they're certainly on the path. And then there's always 1 or 2 that maybe are newcomers, and this opportunity to speak to you as part of the Synchronicity University speaker series presents them with one of their first big opportunities. So I love being a part of all of that, sharing big dogs at such a low rate and getting you incredible astrological learning, and also introducing you to some brilliant astrologers, future big dog astrologers. So our big dog for this session, it has got to be Christine Skinner. Christine Skinner is a world-renowned astrological expert in financial astrology. She's the author of several books, best-selling books at that. I know just with Christine Skinner, her skills are so widely known and respected, but also her work and her commitment to helping empower people with their finances, with abundance through astrology is undeniable. You can go right now on Amazon, put her name in, and you can see how highly ranked her books are. Like, that's what a big deal she is. Years ago, I reached out to her for a reading, not that many years ago, because I know that her strong suit is, and her expertise and her shining very bright in the astrology world is through financial astrology. So this really is a very special opportunity to learn from the one and only Christine Skinner as part of the January speaker series at Synchronicity University. Next up, we do have Wade Caves. Wade is amazing. He has been a staple in the astrological world for many years now. And he has such a wonderful, light, fun, but profound way to teach that really people can grasp so easily. He is a cherished student of the one and only Deborah Holding. Now, Deborah Holding, one of our very big dogs, I got to figure out how to rope her in at some point as well. I think that's not the right way to say it. Let me say inspire her to come teach at Synchronicity University, because I am just so passionate about sharing incredible astrologers with you at a very accessible way, and in a very accessible way, I should say. But yes, Deborah Holding, it was and is his teacher, and now he's bringing those skills to Synchronicity University. You will get to know him, and to know Wade is to love Wade. He is such a sweet soul, and so that is definitely a class to look forward to. Alice Sparkly Cat. I am so thrilled that Alice accepted the invitation to teach at Synchronicity University. She's been making very big waves in astrology with her book, Post-Colonial Astrology. And really, she's just so brilliant. Anytime I hear her speak, or I've, stepped into one of her talks or something within the astrology community online, I am just always so impressed. I love her perspective. She's academic, but she's also able to make the information so relatable. And she has helped me to see astrology and astrology interpretation differently as a result of what she's shared. So I am so looking forward to getting to know her more personally as well through this speaker series, but it is such a treat to have her. And that's really exciting. She's going to be teaching on Venus and Pisces and understanding that symbolism, especially because it's going to be right around the time that she teaches that Venus is connecting to Pisces or moving through Pisces. So that'll be a really exciting and very timely topic to explore with her. Taylor Schuler. Now, she was voted the most promising astrologer by the Organization of Professional Astrologers. I had a chance to meet her at the recent ESAR conference. She's amazing. She's brilliant. She's beautiful. And she really embodies so much knowledge. It is very clear. You talk to her for 3 minutes, you'll see why she got this very prestigious award of most promising astrologer. Taylor is going to teach on Saturn in Pisces. Again, very timely. In March, Saturn moves into the sign of Pisces and is going to be there for a nice long stay. We're going to feel that energy for about 3 years. So this is very exciting and it is huge. It is big. Turning dreams to reality is how she's explaining it. But this is a wonderful first glimpse into understanding how to use the energy of Saturn in Pisces to your advantage. Now, she asked me about, our students, and I told her our students are of all levels. And so beginners just starting out, really wanting to understand the fundamentals, right up to expert and professional astrologers sitting in on classes at Synchronicity University. So she's going to be sure to teach to all levels so that everybody understands. But yeah, she's going to help you to understand how Saturn in Pisces is going to speak to you depending on sign. So all of that is so much to look forward to. And Rubina Khodaden, I know that you have seen her on my channel. She's been on my channel many times. She's such a beautiful and insightful astrologer. And she has this love of sharing astrology that is just so incredible to see. And so she's going to be talking about the north and south nodes and how they kind of push and pull against each other and how to understand that within a chart. So you can see here, we've got an incredible cohort coming up at Synchronicity University for the January speaker series. It is choose your tuition rate for less than 4 weeks left. This is an incredible program. I know that you'll absolutely love it, and you can learn more and sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I've got lots of stories to tell about Daddy Yankee, and I've been sharing some of that in my Instagram stories, but I'll wait. I've got some pretty good stories about Daddy Yankee and how much I love him and the metaphor and symbolism of my experience going to 4 Daddy Yankee concerts in less than 1 week. My mom thinks I'm nuts, but there are very strong spiritual indications here and reasons, or I'm going to find them and I'm going to affirm them in some way. And so, yeah, eventually I'll get into the details of that. But for now, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing my journey with me. No matter where I go in the world, there's just so much love to greet me. And I'm so grateful for that, and that I get to take you along as my friends and fans and superstars. I appreciate all of it. Thank you. And thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.